This film was never going to end well. Most films make you a promise. They promise that things will make sense, justice will be served, and that something will be fixed. Call it a character arc, call it the hero's journey, call it the 3-act structure, whatever you want. It's a promise that most films make you. Seven doesn't. It doesn't promise you anything. In fact, it takes things away. This isn't a film where hope is lost. It's a film where hope has been removed. In most crime thrillers, you follow the detectives as they slowly close in on the killer. Clues lead us, progress is made, and by the end of the film, order is largely restored. Seven doesn't work like this. The story isn't about solving a case, it's about walking into a case and becoming part of it. And trust me, this will all make sense by the end of the video. At the start, Seven feels familiar. Two detectives, a young, somewhat reckless one, and an older, more experienced one. A serial killer on the loose, claiming victims one by one, and a city drowning in crime. You've seen this before. The structure is somewhat comforting in a strange way. It gives you something to hold on to, something predictable. And that structure makes you a promise that this is a story that you'll understand. But that promise is a lie. Before anything even happens, the world feels wrong. It feels off. It's always raining, always dark. It's a hopeless place. And that isn't just the atmosphere, it's the point of the film. It's a reflection of everything in the film. Dread, decay, darkness. They live in a place where nothing grows, nothing improves, nothing escapes. And here, that matters. Because in most films, the world can be fixed. Here, it can't. There's never an ounce of hope to push you or help you. You're stuck with that feeling of dread and inevitability. If you're enjoying this video so far, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a ton. Now, back to it. The two leads and detectives reflect that idea perfectly. First, you have Detective Mills. He's a new detective and he's ready to prove himself. He's got a wife, dogs, and he wants to start a family. He somewhat struggles with his own sort of brashness or almost insecurity about having to try to prove himself. There's optimism there, even if it's naive. Then you have Detective Somerset. He's the opposite. He's been here long enough to understand the city, long enough to see that nothing really changes. No family, future plans that only hope on quitting the force. It's just routine and survival. Even the way he sleeps to the sound of a metronome, it isn't about comfort, it's about drowning out the noise. But we've seen this before. Old cop, young cop, the idealist and the realist. Films like Lethal Weapon or Training Day build entire stories around that contrast. And in those films, that dynamic leads somewhere. The younger one learns, the older one changes. They meet in the middle, there's growth. But in Seven, that growth never really comes, because the story doesn't actually belong to them. It belongs to John Doe. In most films, the detectives drive the story. They make decisions, push forward, and take control. But here, they don't control anything. They're not leading the investigations. They're following it, following a path that's already been laid out for them. John Doe doesn't react to them and their findings. He waits for them, and that changes everything. Because if the protagonists don't have control, then they never stand a chance. His crimes follow the pattern of the 7 deadly sins: gluttony, greed, sloth, lust, pride, envy, and finally, wrath. These aren't just themes, they're a structure, a fixed sequence, a design that can't be broken or interrupted. And there lies what makes this film different, what makes the ending inevitable. Most killers are unpredictable, chaotic, and something that must be stopped. John Doe isn't chaos, he's control. Every victim, every scene, every step of the plan is part of something that's already decided. It's not a race to stop him, it's a process of catching up to him. But by the time that they do, it's already too late. And the film quietly reinforces that idea through Tracy, Mill's wife. She represents something that the rest of the film doesn't have: normality, warmth, a future. She's the only real glimpse of something better, which is exactly why she feels out of place. Even she recognizes it. She talks about how much she hates the city, how everything feels wrong. And in a different film, she would be the reason things turn out okay, the emotional anchor, the thing worth saving. But in Seven, she isn't protected by the story, she's part of it. There's a key moment of the film where they almost get him. In fact, there's a couple. The moment with the photographer on the stairs, he's provoking them, analysing them, and showing himself before they even know who it is. Then there's the knock on the apartment door. For a second, it finally feels like this is it. This is where the story turns. The detectives are finally taking control. But it doesn't happen. He reacts to it, pushes his plan forward, and begins his preparation. In that moment, something clicks. They were never ahead of him. They were exactly where they were supposed to be. And then the film does something even more unsettling. He turns himself in, walks into the police station covered in blood, and gives himself up. It doesn't feel like a victory. It feels wrong, because he's not being caught. He's choosing this moment. He's still in control, and the detectives are still following his plan, even now. And once you realize that, the entire film changes, because from the very first sin, you're waiting for the last one. You know that all 7 murders will happen. The structure doesn't allow for deviation. It only allows for completion. And that's where the hopelessness really comes from. Not just the darkness of the world, but the inevitability of the antagonist. The story isn't unfolding, it's finishing. Then there's the ending, the grand finale. People talk about the ending like it's shocking, but it's not shocking. It's inevitable. Everything in this film is inevitable. The film points towards the ending, the structure, the characters, the control. Even Somerset says it earlier in the film.
You know, this isn't gonna have a happy ending.
He's not being cynical, he's being accurate, because a happy ending would mean that something has changed, that the system worked, that the characters had control, that the world could be fixed. But none of that is true. And then comes the final piece of the plan, the box. We never actually see what's inside it, and we don't need to, because the horror isn't in the image, it's in what it means. In that moment, Mills is given a choice, not to win, but to complete the plan. And that's the final trap, because the only way to stop John Doe is to do exactly what he wants, to become the final sin, wrath. And in that moment, the detectives don't lose control, they prove that they never had any. In most films, the ending gives you something: justice, closure, meaning. Even darker films give you a sense of something that mattered, that something was leaked or gained. Seven doesn't do that. It doesn't give you closure. It just ends, exactly the way it was always going to. And that's what makes David Fincher's direction and style so precise. This isn't random, it's not messy, it's controlled. Every decision pushes the film in one direction, not towards resolution, but towards inevitability. Hope isn't removed at the end of the film, it's removed from the design of the film itself. You see it in most of his other films as well. His films push you towards one goal, one ending, and most of the time, it's not a happy one. And that's why Seven sticks with people, not because it's shocking, not because it's dark or evil, but because it never pretends things could have gone differently. It doesn't build towards a better outcome. You can hope for it, but deep down you know that it won't come. The film doesn't even really suggest that one was possible. It just shows you a story that was always heading in one direction, and it follows all the way to the end. And once you see it that way, the film doesn't feel cruel. It just feels honest and real.